I'm very happy that I can be here with you. So it's I don't remember which one, but probably fourth or fifth time at Pets Forest. I'm very happy that I can be with you. Today, I have a presentation about using AI with Playwright for API and UI tests. So I hope that you will find some interesting ideas. The most important thing, it's my mail. If you have any questions about potential cooperation or this type of thing, please reach me out. You can find me on LinkedIn and by this mail. And let's start maybe a few words about SII because, yeah, of course, if we talk about this automation, it's very important that we need to have knowledge and scale to work with that. And in our situation, it is because at SII we have approximately 1,500 specialists in QA, so it's a lot. So according to that, we can do a lot of experiments in AI and using test automation. And of course, we use different tools from open source and enterprise. So that's I wanted to show you that we have different experience related to that. But now let's start with the agenda. First of all, I'm going to talk what Playwright is. Probably a lot of you know what is it, but I'm going to share a few things why Playwright is useful. Then it will be time where I going to show you a few demos what you can use in your projects. And finally, it will be time for a Q&A session. So let's start with Playwright. So Playwright is an open source tool. It has been created by Microsoft. It's a very important thing because if we talk about open source tools, we should remember that our tools should have some additional support, like a big vendor, like in this case, it's Microsoft, or a big community. So I like to emphasize this fact. Another thing is that we can use Playwright for UI and API tests, and not only for this, but also we can create a hybrid test that we create some entities by REST API, then we verify everything on the UI. And lastly, Playwright official supports for programming languages, but also we have additional support. And let's start, if we talk about AI with vibe coding, probably a lot of you know this idea. So vibe coding is a concept that we can use prompts to generate some application. But to be honest, it doesn't work. So the quality of this code is not so good. But I found a way where this vibe coding can help us. So for this purpose, I found an application. It's so-called bold.new, and you can use prompts to generate the application. So what we need to do. So I have prepared a simple prompt for this application that we want to create a playground for us to learn test automation with Playwright. So first of all, we want to have UI dynamic controls like data picker, like Canvas, like simple REST API. So I explain everything on this prompt, and then, as you can see, everything is generating by the tool. So as you can see, everything is available. The code is generated, and also even from the bold.new, we can easily publish this type of application. So we have controls like form elements, like canvas sliders. Of course, it can be sometimes useful to look at this and check how our application is generated. Also, it can be very useful. And it's interesting that a lot of these vibe coding tools generating stuff in with a lot of bugs. So probably we can also find some bugs when we will use test automation for that. Next thing is probably, Swagger. So Swagger is a very popular tool for which provides for us documentation for REST API. So Swagger contains our methods, parameters, what we have for the API. But also Swagger provides a file, a Swagger JSON file. And this file contains all of our methods, which we have in this API, and also parameters which we need to use for that. And we can leverage this file with a prompt and generate some test cases. So also for that, I use Claude. Claude is another very popular vendor for LLM vendor, large language model. So for this case, I have prepared a prompt where we used where I used Trello JSON file, because Trello has a very rich API, so we can use that for learning, test automation, for UI and API as well. And then I provide a prompt and that we want to have a few test cases and following solid principles. And as you can see, the code is generated not so bad. Of course, I don't want to say that we can generate a perfect code at the beginning, because first of all, it depends on our knowledge. So if we don't have the knowledge, that unfortunately the code can be not so good, because it will be difficult to verify if our code is good or not. So it's the first point. Another thing is that quite often we need to add additional prompts to improve the first response. But quite often, sometimes, maybe not quite often, but sometimes we can find useful ideas how we can deal with a particular issue. All right. Next thing is where I think that AI can help us. It's code review. As you probably know, code review is a very crucial part of our development process, and it's time consuming, quite often not so easy. So, of course, still we need to have a human review. I don't want to say that we can automate that. From my perspective, it doesn't work. But I see when we add additional tools like for example Copilot or Claude, CodeRabbit. Of course, we have much more tools like that. So I only listed a few of them, and I see that sometimes we can see interesting ideas how we can deal with some issues. So for that, I have created a simple pull request where I have a test for Playwright, and I use Claude. So it's slightly less popular tool, but I wanted to show you, and also Copilot. So it's possible to use more than one tool for that. So for that, we can see that Claude has added additional comments, what was changed in this pull request. So it's very important. Next thing is we have useful information, what was changed. To be honest, not always is very useful, but sometimes we can add better explanation what we have done. We have some ideas what we can improve in this code, like hard-coded values, like hard-coded URLs. So it added a few useful comments what we can improve in this code, and also we can see that Copilot has added additional other comments what we can improve. Also, Claude can even suggest which type of test we can implement to this code and generate for us. This function doesn't work so good, but I see that version by version it's better. All right, another thing and another tool and integration where I see that uh, AI can help us is using report portal with, for example, with Playwright, but of course we can use report portal with other tools as well. Price scans, who knows, report portal. Oh, I see. I think a few years ago, as far as I talked, I think 5 or 6 years ago, I talked about using report portal. It's a very nice tool because it's an open source tool. To be honest, I think one of the best now on the market, which works like one test automation dashboards for different tools. We can integrate our end-to-end tests, functional tests, smoke tests, because Report Portal has the REST API, so we have a lot of integration with JUnit, with NUnit, with Ruby, with a lot of tools. So it's that they are available out of the box. So it's a very interesting thing because we can have a one test automation dashboard, which is on our network, in a private network, and we can have that for entire company. So different projects can have more. They have a separate project. So this is the reason why it can be a better tool than Allure, which the basic Allure generates is generating the report after the run. But in this case, we can have the previous runs and also other projects. But what is important if we talk about AI, that report portal using machine learning. So we can use that for, I will show you for it in a while in the demo, but we can use that for analyzing our errors. So for this goal, I have prepared a test. It's a simple Playwright test, which will log in on Trello application. First time this test will pass. Then I'm going to change this password to wrong one, and then run the test. Then you will see that we need to decide if it's a test automation bug or if it's application bug. Then when I run it, automatically Report Portal will assign this error to a proper category automatically. Of course, the first time we need to do that. All right, so as you can see, it's a simple test. We are going to Trello, and everything is fine. Now I'm going to Report Portal, so we can see that our run is on the top. We see that the test passed. I'm going to remove previous results to machine learning to have a fresh state of the demo. And now I test my test. You can see that all the results are available. Also, if we want to, we can quite quickly customize that so we can have more information. Now I'm going to change the password of the field to the password in this test to the wrong one. And now I'm going to run this test again. So you will see that this test is working, because what is also interesting that on Report Portal, everything is on time. So we don't need to wait for the test result, because we can observe that even if this has been run. And as you can see, the test failed. And now we need to decide if it's a product bug, if it's a system issue. And in this case, we can say that our bug. So I'm going to this comment. Also, if we have an integration with Jira, we can easily out the compute bug on Jira. And now you can see that everything is visible. So the first time we needed to decide, but next time when this bug will appear, that Report Portal will assign the bug. So now we can see that it's running again. So it's a 5 second timeout, so we need to wait. And now we can see on the screen that automatically this part is assigned. Of course, also it's important that uh, it's related to quality of our stack trace and our logs, because if we have because we can get some of the bits in our, because we for Portal analyze our stack trace. So if we have a similar stack trace, we can set a threshold in which similarity we are, and then we can get proper information. But also it's very important that it's related to our quality of the stack trace. It could give us additional logs to have proper logging and proper restore portal work. And next thing is Playwright MCP. Probably you know, because I think that the MCP is a very popular standard that it can give us additional capabilities for LLM. So we can use the Chrome and from LLM window, for example, from ChatGPT or Claude, and then we can perform additional operation for external tools. In this case, Playwright has this type of integration as well. So we can provide some commands, and then everything, maybe not everything, because to be honest, not always it works, but Playwright is trying to perform all of this operation. And for this goal, I prepared a very simple prompt, so it shouldn't be a problem. Maybe I can slightly, and let me keep it better for you. And yeah, so in this case, we have a very simple prompt that we are entering to the so it's a very simple prompt that we are navigate to a simple and simple site, and I'm going to log into the site. So it's a very simple text form. So in the prompt, I use my credentials, and then Playwright MCP there tries action by action do that. And as you can see, in this case, I need to confirm that I would like to perform this action, but of course, it's possible to set it up that it will work automatically. And at the end, the test code is generated, and it looks like this. It's not so good, but if we add additional prompt, the code can be better. And of course, I don't want to say that we don't need our knowledge about this automation, because MCP can be expressed with Playwright. MCP can be expressed with, for example, for some experiments, like, for example, trying to generate a page object, because MCP still have entire HTML code and accessibility free, and then we can get a proper page object, but still we need to have this knowledge about our technical knowledge. And I would like to emphasize that, because I'm a technical leader in our assessment process at SAI, and I have been doing that probably for 6 years, and or maybe 5 years. And still, I see that technical knowledge still is a crucial thing, and we need to include that and to learn that. Yeah. All right. And next thing is a cursor IDE. So it's now a quite popular IDE. So integrated environment development is built on Visual Studio Code, and it's IDE which has additional AI capabilities. So we can slightly easier than Visual Studio Code integrate our AI tools. But to be honest, now it's pretty to say which one is better, because of course Visual Studio Code also try to be better, and probably maybe in future they will merge. I don't know, but I see that the fight is the competition is very very difficult in this day. They are both are working, both teams are working on that. So, but I would like to uh, recommend you to recommend checking this out because it's a very interesting how we can deal with our POCs or if we can use that for enterprise project. But of course, in this case, we need to get an approval, and sometimes you can give us additional uh, help. But of course, also we can expect some combination and this type of stuff. Right, and for this case, uh, I have added code where I have a skillful page object. Maybe I can slightly zoom it out. So it's a quite simple code. So and in this case, I have added from that I would like to refactor the code and then implement solid principle up the S-link and some baseline configurations. And we can see that the code will be generated, not so bad. And in some cases, give us the help. So I I use I use this. I have been using two sorts for I think even for a year, and I see that it can really help us. And we see that the code is gonna generate. All right, and another idea how we can utilize uh, AI, so in this case LLMs. We can use a part of our HTML or a code page using this HTML to a prompt to generate a page object. And for this type of stuff, to be honest, LLMs are working uh, quite good. And but of course, also we need to use the proper prompt. I like to add additional phrase following solid principle because I see that then the output can be slightly better. And for this case, I put the HTML code for the dozen form which I showed you, and also the code is generated by LLM, and we see that it generated probably too many methods for the HTML, but we can easily add additional prompt that we can, and then we can have only methods and selectors which we want to have. All right. Next thing is what is available on Playwright. Playwright topic DOM. It's we can see that Playwright version by version it's more integrated with AI capabilities. Now we had a widespread base which is Playwright agent, but also on the previous version it's Playwright topic DOM, which is added to our HTML report, and we can copy that as error and then use that on LLM. So then we can slightly easier debug our problem. And another idea and another experiment what I have done is integrating Claude, Playwright Claude with AI. And because Playwright Claude is the simple tool which we can use or it's a good tool for sometimes. It's a good tool for finding selectors. But to generate code is not so good because the quality of the code is not so good. But if we add integration with AI, the output is slightly better. And for that, I'm going to use this tool for our logging point. And yeah, so Playwright program is opening window. So I need to perform this action. So I put my credentials and and now I'm going to click sign in. And at the end, I'm going to add an afflection and the code is generated. And as I said, it's not so good, but now I'm going to improve this code. So you can see that code is not so good, but here I uh, I have added the prompt where I would like to. So we need to be a senior test automation engineer with a lot of experience. To be honest, it works if we add this type of stuff. And also, we would like to use a page object model and better separation for the code. And now we will see that this code will be much better, and it's our first attempt. So it can really, in some areas, give us the value. Yeah, the loading page is generated. And yeah, and we see their test is generated. So as you can see, I don't want to say that this code is the best one, but it's much better than before. And what is interesting that after first attempt, the code was working. So also it's important. So then if we have the knowledge, we can quite easily extend the code. All right. Next thing is that I see in the era of living LLMs that we can be probably uh, less, so we can be more independent if we talk about using test automation tool because uh, we had um, uh, we had a problem or maybe a challenge at SII that we needed to move from Selenium and C Sharp to Playwright and Type. And we only talked with a customer that we can utilize LLMs to speed up this type of refactoring. Of course, we need to remember that the Selenium tests were good because it was also very important in this change. And instead of spending months or maybe weeks of refactoring, it was done much more faster. So I think that it can be interesting in future. It's we can be we can be more independent because we can use more different tools, and this refactoring will be much more easier than before because in transforming LLMs are always quite good for generating and not so. All right. And another interesting idea how we can use Playwright is integrate that with, for example, this Maple. So Maple is local, local solution even, which is built on Playwright. So we don't need to use the code to generate test automation. And what is interesting is AI capabilities for doing assertion for PDF files and uh, some images. Because instead of leaving difficult assertions for PDF, sometimes it's a tricky thing. Also, it's a tricky thing if you talk about, for example, verifying consents on a video, because LLMs, it was harder than now because LLMs are working very well with that. And we can use a prompt, we can use in our natural language, and then check, for example, if the logo is available on the right code. So it's much easier than this one. But about also, if we talk about test automation, we had some integration, like, for example, Playwright, auto Playwright. I don't recommend using that because, to be honest, it's not updated. Also, we have zero step. It also deprecated. Both of them are unsupported. So it's much better if you would like to use open APIs, because for Auto Playwright, it was Playwright with added integration for open open uh, open AI API, but it's much easier to create that from the scratch. So yeah, so also it's very important. So for now, it's better don't use it. Okay, and also at the end, I would like to tell you a few things about challenges because, of course, AI can help us, but I see also a lot of areas where it can fail and where we can have some problems. So first of all, we need to quite often do additional prompts, additional attempts for our solution because it's very rarely a situation that at first attempt everything will really work. So sometimes we can spend much more time for improving the front than, for example, doing something by ourselves. So, it's good to experiment with that, but also I see a lot of potential challenges. Then security. Of course, we need to have a confirmation and approval that we can use AI tools like Fullstore or Copilot or other tools within our organization because it's very, very important. And yeah, we need to have this confirmation and what we can put there. Also, we see some challenges with intellectual property. Probably you know it's very interesting images that you can find anything like Van Gogh or this type of thing. But also, it's a challenge. I think that you can see lack of common sense that you can ask for something and we can get an answer which is not related to that. And also the prompt sensitivity. For that, I recommend reading a book, The Art of Prompting, that's already uh, the publisher. It's a very nice book, and it shows us what we should do in our prompt to improve the output. And quite often, outdated knowledge of course, because we need to remember that the model was trained on the old data. And next challenges, what I can see that hallucinations probably you expected, because yeah, it's very, very popular thing if we talk about using AI. Then I think I see that over reliance on AI also is a problem. I talked with one friend from one university. Uh, she's a she's a professor there, and she told me that now, for example, students they don't try to figure out solution by themselves, but they take the content of this task and put on LLM. So it's also a problem that sometimes we can don't develop ourselves, but we can have problems with our knowledge. So from my perspective, I like to even turn it off for for working to feel talent myself if I can do everything by myself. And of course, a lot of marketing type probably on LinkedIn you can see it, and not only on LinkedIn. So yeah, it can help us, but of course, I see there are a lot of marketing, uh, marketing there to also we need to aware. And yeah, at the end, I would like to recommend a few artist books here, which I wrote some time ago. First one is called Creative Playwright Framework. So if you have a challenge, it's on two parts. So yeah, I think that it can be quite good for you. And also, my notice there are a lot of content about using uh, or doing some experiments with AI stuff, but not only also about using less popular integration or Playwright, for example, the dual regression tracker or Lighthouse. So I hope that it can be interesting for you. And yeah, if you have any questions, please uh, find me by this email. And now it's the time for the Q&A session. Thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, thank you, Michał, once again for the presentation. I read a couple of your articles and I can also recommend this. So now it's time for questions. Do we have any questions? Yes. So please wait for microphone, okay?
Hi. So this login page is like a hello world in automation world. Did you try to use it on more complex websites? Yes. And was it like, did the AI create something out of the box was surprise for you? Or is it like, I don't want code, I use it, copy paste, and then I refactor it or I change the element prompt? And one more question. Was this 10 plus of experience a crucial part of your prompt?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. So, first of all, yes, but thank you for the question because I didn't mention about that. But why it doesn't work for more complex solutions or why it has some problem? Because the limit of the context. Because we need to remember that this our message and the output is generated, it is divided for some tokens and so on, and then it's a problem why it has more problems if bigger pages. But to be honest, I have been using for quite complex type where I have a lot of reads and this type of stuff, and it works quite well. But we need to, for this type of case, we need to use HTML of part of the site because it's very tricky to have a very large site. So yeah, it can be tricky. To be honest, still I think that it's necessary to do refactoring. It's not quite almost always because uh, of course full start it's a quite a good tool because in this context because it slightly better we can discover other files what we have, but still the limitation of the context is now it can be a problem as well. But yeah, I think that probably it can give us 20, maybe 30% for a better performance, but I don't think that it can give us more if you talk about that.
Another question?
Okay, you were talking about repo portal and the automatic categorization of the defects, the bugs, etc. Do you have any experience with other desktops? And could you give us a comparison to repo portal?
Yeah, I don't have to too much because only I use some filters in that. So I use most probably much more in normal alone, not the test of the version. And I don't know how it works in in a bigger scale because yeah for my purposes report portal works correct and it can give me the value. So the reason why I didn't want to to move or try to do a bigger POC than then we start and try to work this type of stuff. Yeah, I know that the machine learning algorithm is varies a lot in report portals, and a lot of people are working at Apple for report portals. So yeah, so we need to be the head of this project. He's my good friend, and yeah, they have a very big scale of customers. So a lot of companies I did for portal like Starbucks, like BitMate, like MasterCard, just to remember some banks. Also, I know about companies I can tell. So yeah, it's a very solid tools, and also it's an open source tools. Of course, they have a premium versions, but to be honest, even the open source version is very nice. So this is the point why I think the scale it's yeah it's a reason why I this is one thing now to move to Aldo for example for some project, but yeah maybe also yeah if you say maybe it's content so yeah but I see that it proposed if to the place. I believe it depends. We use Aldo or something else in Pinochet, but thank you very much. Yeah. We still have time for, yeah. And also, I can add all that some people use, for example, Allure and also Portal. I saw with that debate.
Yeah, I have a question, but I start with a short story because at some point I also use the AI for review the code and then ask the agent to review the architecture of my project. He gives me a feedback and then I ask him to be honest. So my question is, do you have any statistics how good the reviews from the AI are comparing to the reviews made by humans? I mean, despite tools like Ashley, Solar Cloud, and so on, simply the feedback that gives you AI comparing to the feedback that gives you the human, what AI finds that doesn't that don't human finds, and vice versa. Do you have any informations about that?
Very, very interesting question. To be honest, I don't have. Probably I saw on RPT, but I don't remember that there is statistic because probably I read something about that, but yeah, it will be better to discover a bit more. Yeah, so yeah, it's a good question, but I don't know how and what this can be basically the two approaches. From my perspective, it's really both. If we so yeah, I don't want to remove human code wiki because yeah, it's necessary. But from my perspective, I see that using the AI for coding can be like an experiment, not then that I rely on like human.
We still have 3 minutes, so maybe one last quick question.
Hello. Question which is following up the topic about code review made by AI. This is just because if we are using AI for code reviewing, it creates additional noise into the pull request, right? So probably it may make human reviewers not willing to take a look at the pull requests. So my question is, do you know if there is any pattern to use automatic code review before creating the code review itself? I mean, before the match, before you come with the requisite that
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I didn't forget that sometimes these tools can create a noise, and also it's a very important thing that you can see a lot of comments which are not relevant, or I didn't came across an idea how to do that in a proper way. I see some experiments of also I do. We can use some rules, for example, on cursor, that we can use some rules that your code could follow, and then you can have in some way code review before the commit, for example. But I still I do a lot of experiments, but still I don't rely on a human code review. So there we need to, from my perspective, rely on human code review. But then, of course, sometimes I see, for example, I had a situation that it gave me a nice concept how I can use TypeScript in a better way in some case, but quite often, seriously, like human code review much better.
Okay, guys, thank you, Michał. Big round of applause once again.